Hello there. Welcome once again to Leadership in 30 Minutes. Leadership in 30 Minutes. It's your favorite leadership program. And here we discuss the all important subject of leadership. That's what we're discussing once again this morning. And you are most welcome. You are most welcome. Your anchor, my name is Olatunji Sobodu, and I'm the CEO and founder of EMET Leadership Academy, where leaders are nurtured based on truth. Where leaders are nurtured based on truth. It's my pleasure, to be with you this morning. And today we'll be examining another important issue on the subject of leadership. I'm sure that you'll be interested. I guess you must know what we'll be focusing on today. Today is episode 8, and we're starting a two-part series, actually, leading against the odds. Leading against the odds. I recall that last week I said that the two-part series was going to be succeeding against the odds. But I thought to make it leading against the odds, we're talking about the subject of leadership, so it's good to bring that into focus, directly. But if you like, you can also refer to it as, succeeding in leadership against the odds, succeeding in leadership against the odds. So that marries both, of them. And everyone who leads, of course, wants to succeed. I said, somewhere, I think overnight while I was working on, a book that hopefully would come out soon, titled No Sense of Value. It's a leadership book, and in one of the chapters, I talk about the greatest irony of leadership, the greatest irony of leadership. And, I think that our discussion on the odds against leadership, on the odds that you face when you're leading, will bring that into the fore, actually, because more often than not, and you will see the odds shortly, leaders are prone to failure. All right. Just as they say that 75% or more of change efforts fail, the same thing applies to leadership. All right. The odds against leadership are pretty high. And that's why many leaders fail. And the success of leadership, or the success of a leader, is not in what we call ourselves, or is not in being called the leader. All right. So there are many leaders, but there are many leaders who have failed in the leadership assignment because the odds are huge. And so if you must do leadership, and you must do leadership right, it's important that you pay attention to the odds and that you learn how to overcome them. Because what is sure is that you're going to confront the odds. You're going to face the odds. The odds will arise whether you like it or not. All right? They would arise whether you like it or not. Okay. So the leaders who are successful, they have confronted those odds and conquered them. They have overcome those odds. Now, if you speak to a leader who is truly successful, the odds that we'll be showcasing today, they would have confronted them at some point or the other. Otherwise, they will not be regarded as a success. They won't be regarded as a success. Okay, so it's leading against the odds. What do we mean? I often refer to leadership as a journey. It's a journey that the leader takes the follower on. And that journey has a destination, must have a destination. You wouldn't like anybody to follow you, for example, or you wouldn't like to follow anybody if there is no destination. So you want to know, where are we going? What's in it for me? What's the end, of these are relationship. And by the way, leadership is a relationship. It's a relationship between the leader and the follower. All right. Leadership is the conduct of that relationship such that the goals or the objectives of the relationship are achieved. That's leadership. I'm going to talk about that sometime in a couple of weeks, so be on the lookout for it. I'll be speaking on the subject of, I call leadership stripped bare. Leadership stripped bare. But today it is leading against the odds. So if leadership is a journey, all right, there is a destination. And the destination, quite frankly, is what the leader makes. All right, where the leader takes the follower is what the leader makes the follower into. I love the statement that Jesus made. He said, "Follow me, and I will make you," meaning the destination that I'm taking you to on this leadership journey is a place where you are made into something else. Actually, where you are made into a different personality. So leadership isn't about those numbers primarily. Ultimately, the numbers will come, but it's about making people into what will make them produce those numbers. Unfortunately, that's where, many leaders get it mixed up. They are driven more by the numbers and they overlook or neglect, all right, the channel through which the numbers are obtained, which is the people. And the channel is more important than the destination, than, the numbers. The people are more important. I mean, for example, if you are not leading if you don't have people, why do you need to lead people? If you can get the job done on your own, then you don't need people. So try achieving the numbers yourself and let's see how far you can go. But if it is true that you need people in order to achieve the numbers, then shouldn't you pay attention to developing the people, all right, so that the numbers would be a natural consequence? So if you're a leader and you want ease in that responsibility, that's how to approach your responsibility. Enough of playing down on the very people that you claim to be leading. All right. The people don't matter to you as much as the numbers matter to you. Your priorities are all mixed up. That's not leadership. That's not leadership. That's not how it is done. All right. So it is making people into something. Okay. Now, that is what is referred to as producing fruit. Okay. So I want to use a very, interesting analogy for exposing and explaining these odds against leadership. These odds that you are bound to face when you are leading. All right. It's interesting. I'm going to rely on a parable, and I'm going to rely on that natural phenomenon that you and I can easily relate to. All of us eat, okay? And if we eat, we know how most of our food is grown. And I'm not talking about, the engineered ones. I'm not talking about the plant, those kind of, I'm talking about, how the farmer has a seed, and the farmer plants a seed, and how the seed is nurtured and it grows. Jesus captured that in a parable. All right, in Luke chapter 8, you may want to refer to that. I commend that to you to please refer to it. Now, he did, okay, use that parable to illustrate how to be fruitful, quite frankly. Is how to be fruitful, is how to get results in any assignment. The reason that parable is so compelling is because you don't even have to believe in it, even though I believe that is perhaps the easiest one to believe, because you and I can relate to it. You and I see it happen day to day. If we put seed in the soil and we water it, all right, and we nurture it and we wait for a while, ultimately it's going to get to the point where, fruit is produced and we harvest and we are great. So we see it. It's easy for us to believe it. It's easy for us to embrace it. And that's why, that parable is very instructive. By the way, is a foundation principle for life. I wish I could go into that, but I won't go into that. Because Genesis 8:22, it says, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease. All right. So the world is founded and operates primarily on the principle of seed time and harvest, input and output, planting or sowing and reaping. And so, that's, you want to produce fruit in whatever it is you're doing. All right. This is one principle that will help you. If you understand the workings of that principle, all right, then you can navigate your way, all right, to success, to fruitfulness, to having something to show for your efforts. And so that's what I'll be riding on, in this series today and next week. All right. Now, I love a particular scripture. It's John 15 and verse 16. And it says, you didn't call me, but I called you, and I ordained you, or if you like, empowered you to go out and bear fruit. All right. And that your fruit should abide. All right. So a leader has a calling to go and bear fruit. Bearing fruit is making the follower into something. In actual fact, let me say right away, is building character in your people. So the change, when Jesus said, I will make you fishers of men. So I'm going to transform you from fishermen. All right? That's your identity now. That's your personality. That's your character. That's your vocation, perhaps. Into fishers of men. A major change. I'm making you to experience a transformation, all right, such that you are empowered to do something far more valuable than what you were doing before. Are we still together? Now, it's interesting. That's what leadership is about. So let's get our focus right. That's what leadership is about. All right, this morning we're still talking about leading against the odds. So when you look at that framework, the seed to fruit framework is useful for explaining how you succeed, all right, in your leadership assignment. Very useful. And very quickly, what does that parable tell us? That parable tells us, the parable of the sower. It said a sower went out to sow. So you have a sower who went out to sow, took a seed, put the seed in the ground. And then we were told that the sower sowed by the wayside. But the birds of the air came and they stole the seed from the ground. All right. It says some seeds also fell on stony ground. And he said, when the crop began to grow, that the sun was so much, all right, the root on stony ground, the plant could not develop, proper, deep roots. So when the sun came, the sun scorched the crop and it died. So in the first case, planting on wayside, the effort, went to nothing. Planting on stony ground, the effort ultimately went to nothing. He said, but, then there are some that were planted among the thorns. And what happened? The thorns grew and they choked the crop that was already growing. He said, but then some fell on good ground and they grew, nurtured successfully, and then out of it, the sower had a 30-fold or 60-fold, some 100-fold. That's how you move from the sower that has a seed to the fruit. All right, fruitfulness is success. At that point, the sower has made the seed into fruit, just like the leader is given the responsibility to make the fisherman into a fisher of men. All right? Now, I like to always look at that, what we describe as a journey. Instead of looking at the wayside as one option, or the stony as one option, or the thorny ground as one option, there is a sequence. All right? Is a sequence. So if we look at it as a sequence, how does that help us to explain the odds against leadership? I'm going to be discussing, 7 odds. You can already see from the effort of the sower or a number of obstacles that could truncate the effort of the sower prematurely. I mean, if you listen very well to that process, okay, you can see. Now, when the seed was stolen, of course, the sower had planted. There was effort already. But that effort amounted to nothing. So no fruit. The odds overrode the efforts. The second one, if you succeed such that the seed is not stolen, then what happens? The fruit begins to grow, or rather, the crop begins to grow. But then the sun comes, adverse weather, as it were. And again, the crop is scorched and it dies. Again, the odds overcame the efforts up till that point. And then you have the thorns. And every farmer knows that when you plant and nobody steals, the birds do not steal, the seed remains in the ground, it is going to transform into a crop and then it starts growing. All right? The blade, the air, and all that. And when it starts growing, okay, the sun, it needs the sun, by the way, and it needs water. But the intensity of the sun may need to be controlled. Otherwise, you may lose the crop. And if you pass that stage, then you have the stage where what you are contending with are weeds. All right. In this case, the Bible refers to them as thorns. Okay, they are weeds. Okay. Now, Those weeds, every farmer knows that. If you don't get rid of that, they will choke. Why? Because they are consuming the same resources that the crop needs to grow. Yet, they are not producing anything. Weeds are useless. All right? So if you allow that to deplete the resources that the crop requires, you're done. But if you can pass that stage, then you can begin, to expect the fruit to show. So the odds, there are 7 of those odds that I'd like for us to pay attention to. 7 odds that you need to pay attention to if you want to succeed in your leadership assignment. Number 1, competence. Number 1 is competence. So basically, who are you? All right? Who are you? Who are you means that we are told that the person, the one who stepped forward to go and plant, is called what? The sower. The what? The sower. So the qualification to embark on that journey must be in place. If you are not a sower, you can't hope to succeed. The fact that you are a sower or that you are a farmer, however, does not guarantee success. You have to do what the sower does in order to be successful. You have to demonstrate that you are worthy of being called a sower or a farmer or a leader in this example for you, all right, to be successful. So the question is, are you competent to lead? Are you a sower? What's your identity? Do you have the competence? Do you have what it takes? Have you been exposed? Have you been trained on how to lead? If you have not been trained on how to lead, you can't hope to succeed leading people. You can't. If you have not been trained as a farmer and you go ahead to lay hold on seed just because you can afford it or because somebody gave it to you, just like, for example, you could be assigned a leadership role without you having the competence to lead, well, you may just be setting up yourself for failure. You see, the odds are great. And while we're talking at the odds, when you look at that parable, the odds are higher than 75%. There are 4 critical milestones that you can identify in that parable. All right, 4 critical stages where the entire effort of the sower, of the leader, is exposed, all right, to failure. And 3 of them are adverse. When the seed is stolen, when the sun destroys, the crop, when the thorns destroy the crop. It's only in 1 out of 4 instances that success is accomplished. So if you look at that, the probability is 75% that the average leader will fail. And that probability is high, indeed higher, will be higher if you don't have competence to lead. So are you a sower? When we read that, what do you call it? When we read that parable, we often don't pay attention to the fact that we are told that the one who stepped out is not a novice. The one who has been given leadership responsibility is not a novice. we can truly call the person a leader to the extent that the person has some competence to lead. But like I said, the fact that you have competence to lead does not mean that you do not face those odds. You still face those odds. You now have to prove that indeed you are who you are being called. So when you are given a responsibility to lead, it's a call to prove that you are a true leader. You have to demonstrate it by making your people into personalities, by producing fruit in your people, by shaping your people and their character appropriately. So that's the first thing. So how do you deal with that? Many people will fail in the leadership assignment. They will struggle. They will fall into ridicule in their leadership assignment for precisely the reason that they are not competent. They are not leaders. They are only sitting in leadership roles. You need, for you to be a sower, for you to be a farmer, there is training that is required. All right? That's the first order. And it's a huge one. If you're not a leader, you can't succeed. If you're not trained to be a leader, you can't succeed. If you don't seek leadership training, you will not succeed as a leader. That's the truth. In fact, you won't even know, you may not even know what constitutes true leadership success. Okay, so that's the first ord. The second ord is skill, or if you like, gift. What are your skills? Notice that when the sower steps out on his assignment in that parable, he stepped out with a seed. He had the seed in his hand. He had what he needs to make fruit happen or a reality. In the case of the leader, it's your skill. What's that endowment that defines you? What do you bring to the table? All right? What's that gift that you have specially? And it's important because you can't do leadership right without engaging your gift. A leader is given as a gift to his people. But the leader showing himself to be a gift for the people must engage his own gift. Paul was saying to Timothy, drawing his attention, he said, pay attention to your gift. Ensure you engage your gift. The gift that was transferred to you, imparted to you, all right, when the elders, all right, when they laid their hands on you. So leadership involves a transfer of gifts. What a seed does is to give itself away, all right, so that it can produce a fruit that will have more seeds in that. So what skill defines you? What are you skilled at? How valuable is that skill? Because the quality of your fruit, that is the quality of the leaders you produce as a leader, will be a function of the quality of your gift and how well you engaged your gift. I'm hoping sometime I would be able to drill down further into that. All right, that's a very deep aspect, and it's an aspect that every leader needs to pay attention to. You can't do leadership right without engaging your gift. And some people don't know their gifts. Now, if you don't know your gift, how will you engage it to lead as you're expected to? How? So you can see that the odds will be against you also if you are not engaging your gift. By the way, one of the ways that you draw strength in your leadership assignment is when your assignment is driven on the platform of your gift, on the platform of your capabilities, on the platform of what you know to do, you know how to do. It empowers you, it emboldens you, all right, in that assignment. So when you don't have it, when you don't recognize it, when you are not engaging it or deliberate to take advantage of it, you undermine yourself. You weaken your ability to provide quality leadership. And if that is the case, the odds will grow against you. The odds will grow against you. The odds will grow against you. All right? You must know it. No farmer holds the seed without knowing what seed they are holding, without ensuring that the seed they are holding is of great value, is qualitative. They know that the quality of their output, of their fruit, of their result is going to be directly in relation to the quality of their seed. So they make sure that they address it, that they are skilled, that they know their gift. And by the way, if you don't know your seed, how will you recognize the harvest when you see it? I mean, you don't know that the seed you're holding is an orange seed. As a farmer, that's a problem. That's evidence of incompetence, by the way. But if you don't know the seed, then what harvest are you expecting? Because the moment you tell me the seed you are planting, I know what to expect. So when the fruit, if at all they come out, I would know whether that's what we're expecting. I often jokingly say some people will be shocked because their leadership produces fruit that is not reflective of their gift. Somewhere in between, fraud has taken place because there is no way for you to plant a seed, all right, that produces fruit that has no bearing to the seed. Is impossible. But that's what some people do as leaders. That's why you look at those who have worked with them and you can't see anything in them that resembles something in their leader. That's not how leadership is done. That's not how leadership is done. You can't truly lead and produce successors, and people, not even you, will fail to see that, oh, truly, this fellow has worked with this leader. It has to be. And the key is the skill. All right, so today, I think we're only able to cover two. 2 out of 7 odds that I want to discuss. Leading against the odds that will face you as a leader that you must overcome if you are to be successful in that role. That role is so important and it's quite difficult. All right. There are odds that you will face. You can't, overcome. You cannot bypass that. And you had better get ready to confront them and to overcome them. And you can overcome them. So the first odd, we talk about competence. The second odd, we talk about skill or gift or talent, if you like. And you can see that in the first two, what you need to do is clear. You need to ensure that you receive training in the area of leadership to be qualified. Qualify yourself to lead. And secondly, you have to pay attention to identify your gift and to develop it. Because if you want to lead effectively, it's going to make a call on your gift. Your gift will empower you in no small dimension. So if you don't pay attention to it, if you don't develop it, if you don't nurture it, you weaken your ability to lead. You weaken your ability to lead. That's something that your training should have told you about. But then, yes, you'll be trained, but when push comes to shove, you have to act out. There is the action that must follow. All right, there's the action that must follow. That's what we can take for today. This is part 1 of leading against the odds. That's what we're looking at, in this edition of Leadership in 30 Minutes. Leadership in 30 Minutes. Join me again this time next week, Thursday, 11 a.m. West African time. And we'll be dealing with the part 2. And in the part 2, I'll be looking at the 5 remaining odds that you need to pay attention to and what you need to do to overcome them. It promises, to be an exciting time. And if you will take these things, you see how, they change your approach to leadership and they build your capacity to provide quality leadership. And as I always say, to do leadership right, to do leadership right. My name, once again, is Olatunji Sobodu. And, I'm the CEO and founder of EMET Leadership Academy, where leaders are nurtured based on truth. Truth, as in the word of God. That's who we are. That's what we do. Please check out, and subscribe, okay, and invite your friends, and let's meet again this time next week. By the way, there are other videos. Enjoy, in my YouTube channel, and there will be much more. The program for the next 4 weeks is already, been posted. So again, you can check. And if you subscribe, you would be notified ahead of, each of these broadcasts. And you may please comment as well. I encourage you to comment, put your comments in the comment section, and share your perspectives, give feedback. I love, to receive feedback so that we can make this as valuable, as impactful, as rich as possible. Once again, thank you. It's been a pleasure. See you this time next week. God bless you. Bye-bye.